The scratch ran the entire length of my car's passenger side. Deep, deliberate gouges in the metallic blue paint I'd spent years saving for. 3 years of overtime shifts, careful budgeting, and skipped vacations had gone into purchasing this car. It wasn't expensive by luxury standards, but for me, it represented independence and achievement. And now, a jagged line of exposed metal glinted in the afternoon sun, running from the passenger door all the way to the rear panel. I stood in my driveway, staring at the damage while my nephew Tyler sprinted around the corner of my house, his toy truck abandoned near my rear wheel. The truck was metal, heavy, with sharp edges. I could see the paint transfer on one corner where it had scraped against my car. "Tyler, come here, please," I called out, keeping my voice level despite the sick feeling in my stomach. My 7-year-old nephew ignored me, already focused on climbing my porch steps to grab another toy from the collection that had somehow migrated to my front door over the past few months. "Tyler," I called again, firmer this time. My sister Jennifer appeared from my backyard, phone in hand, barely glancing up from whatever text conversation held her attention. "What's wrong now?" I pointed at the scratch, running my finger just above the damage without touching it. "Tyler dragged something metal along my car. Look at this damage." Jennifer finally looked, squinting at the scratch for perhaps 2 seconds before her expression shifted from mild annoyance to complete dismissal. "Oh, that's why you have insurance. Kids will be kids. You know how it is." She turned back to her phone immediately, her thumbs already moving across the screen, already losing interest in what she clearly considered a minor inconvenience. "Jennifer, this is going to cost hundreds of dollars to fix properly. The paint is down to the metal. This isn't something I can just ignore or buff out. Insurance will cover it," she repeated, waving her hand dismissively without looking up from her phone. "Stop being so uptight. It's just a car. You're always so dramatic about your things. Remember when you freaked out about the juice stain on your couch? That came out fine. That took professional cleaning that I paid for," I reminded her, my jaw tightening. "And this isn't a stain. This is body damage that will require repainting the entire panel. My deductible alone is $500. Then file a claim. That's what insurance is for." Jennifer glanced at her watch, clearly eager to leave. "Look, accidents happen. You can't expect a 7-year-old to be perfect. You don't have kids, so you don't understand." Tyler grabbed another toy from my porch, a dump truck this time, and ran back toward the street, nearly tripping over his own feet in his excitement. I watched him go, this child who spent more time at my house than his own, whose toys littered my lawn, whose snack requests I fulfilled without question multiple days a week. I looked at my sister, who was typing rapidly on her phone, completely absorbed in her digital conversation, completely uninterested in the real-world problem standing right in front of her. "Are you going to talk to him about respecting other people's property?" I asked, trying to keep the frustration from my voice. "He's 7. He doesn't understand these things yet. You need to relax." Jennifer pocketed her phone and checked her watch again. "Anyway, I've got to run. Can you watch him for another hour? Maybe 2. I have a hair appointment at 3, and you know how backed up Salon Bliss gets." I opened my mouth to protest, to say that I hadn't agreed to watch him in the first place, that she dropped him off 2 hours ago to Breezy just for 30 minutes. But the words died in my throat. This was our pattern. This was how it always went. Before I could respond, she was already walking to her car, keys jingling in her hand. "Thanks. You're the best. I'll be back by 5, maybe 6 if traffic's bad. Feed him if he gets hungry. There should be chicken nuggets in your freezer from last time." I stood alone in my driveway, looking at the damage that would cost me a $500 deductible, watching my sister drive away with a casual wave, like she just borrowed a cup of sugar instead of dismissing significant damage to my property and dumping childcare responsibilities on me without permission. Again. The afternoon sun beat down on the exposed metal of the scratch, and I could already imagine the rust that would form if I didn't get it fixed quickly. My insurance rates would probably increase after filing a claim. I'd be out the deductible either way, and Jennifer acted like I was being unreasonable for even mentioning it. I walked inside, leaving Tyler to his toys in the yard, and sat at my kitchen table. Through the window, I could see him racing his trucks along my walkway, making engine noises, completely oblivious to the consequences his actions had caused. He was 7. He really didn't understand. But Jennifer did. She was 34 years old, fully capable of teaching her son responsibility and respect for other people's belongings. She just chose not to because it was easier to let things slide, to let me deal with the aftermath, to treat my home as an extension of her own convenience. That was Wednesday. Thursday, Jennifer texted me, asking if Tyler could come over after school. Need to run errands. You're home anyway, right? I stared at the message for a long moment, then replied, not available today. Friday brought another text. Tyler's school has early dismissal. Can he hang at your place, just for a few hours? Can't today, I responded. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 8. Jennifer sounded irritated. Why aren't you answering my texts? I need you to watch Tyler today. I have plans. I'm busy this weekend, I said simply. Busy? Doing what? You never do anything on weekends. Come on, just a few hours. I have things to handle. You'll need to make other arrangements. Silence. Then, is this about the car? Seriously? I told you insurance covers it. Stop being petty. I didn't argue. I need to go, Jennifer. Good luck with your plans. I hung up before she could respond. The following Wednesday, Jennifer showed up at my door unannounced, Tyler in tow. She had that expectant look on her face, the one that said she assumed everything had blown over. Hey, we were in the neighborhood. Tyler wanted to play in your backyard. You don't mind, right? I stood in the doorway, not moving aside. Actually, I do mind. Jennifer laughed uncertainly. What? Why? Because I've established some new house rules, and one of them is that Tyler isn't allowed on my property anymore. Her smile vanished. You're joking. I'm not. My home, my driveway, my yard, all off limits. Over a stupid scratch? Are you insane? Jennifer's voice rose. He's a child. A child who caused $500 in damage that you dismissed as my problem. A child whose mother uses my home as free daycare without asking, then acts like I'm unreasonable for expecting basic respect. Tyler tugged on Jennifer's sleeve, confused. She pulled him closer, glaring at me. You're really going to punish a 7-year-old because you're mad at me? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm setting boundaries. You made it clear that damage to my property doesn't matter. So now, my property is no longer available to you. This is insane. You're my sister. Yes, and you're someone who takes advantage of that relationship. I spent 2 years watching Tyler multiple times a week, never asking for anything in return. The one time something goes wrong, you couldn't even acknowledge it or offer to help. Jennifer's face flushed red. I have a life. I have responsibilities. I can't just sit at home all day like you do. I work from home, which you know, and what you call sitting at home, I call being available whenever you need something. That availability has ended. What am I supposed to do? I have a job. Tyler needs a parent who takes responsibility when he damages other people's property. You'll figure it out like every other working parent does. Daycare, after-school programs, babysitters. I'm done being your free backup plan. Jennifer stared at me, fury and disbelief competing on her face. You're unbelievable. Mom and Dad are going to hear about this. I'm sure they will. Goodbye, Jennifer. I closed the door. That evening my mother called. Jennifer says you banned Tyler from your house? What's going on? I explained the situation calmly, including the scratched car, the dismissed damage, and the years of unpaid babysitting. Mom sighed. She's your sister. Family helps family. Help goes both ways, Mom. Respect goes both ways. Neither has been happening. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. It's just a scratch. It's $500, but more than that, it's the principle. Jennifer has never once offered to pay me or even thanked me properly for all the times I've watched Tyler. She treats my time and property as if they have no value. That's just how Jennifer is. She's busy, she's stressed, and I'm not. My time isn't valuable because I work from home. My belongings don't matter because I don't have kids. Silence. Then, quietly, what do you want her to do? Acknowledge that she was wrong, take responsibility, and understand that my home is not her free resource to exploit whenever it's convenient. That seems harsh. What's harsh is being taken for granted for 2 years and then being called dramatic for expecting basic courtesy. Mom didn't argue further, but I could hear the disappointment in her voice when she said goodbye. 2 weeks passed. Jennifer tried texting once. This is ridiculous. He's your nephew. I replied, he's your son, your responsibility. Another week went by. Then, on a Tuesday evening, Jennifer showed up again. No Tyler this time. She looked exhausted. Can we talk? She asked, her voice lacking its usual edge. I stepped aside, letting her in. We sat in my living room, the silence stretching between us. Jennifer studied her hands. Daycare is expensive, she finally said. I didn't realize how expensive until I actually had to pay for it full time. I waited. And the after-school program has a waiting list. I had to hire a babysitter 3 days a week. She charges $20 an hour. Still, I said nothing. I never. Jennifer stopped, swallowed. I never thought about what I was asking from you, or how much of your time I was taking. You were always available. It seemed easy. It was easy for you, I said quietly. It wasn't always easy for me. I rearranged meetings, cut work short, canceled plans. I did it because you're my sister and I love Tyler. But I needed you to value that. And you didn't. Jennifer nodded slowly. The car thing. I should have offered to pay your deductible. I should have apologized. I should have made Tyler apologize. Yes. I called you dramatic because I felt guilty. I knew I was wrong, but admitting it meant admitting I'd been taking advantage of you. It was easier to make you the problem. I leaned back, studying my sister's face. She looked genuinely remorseful, but I'd learned not to accept apologies too quickly. What changed? I asked. Having to actually arrange childcare. Having to pay for it. Realizing that you did all of this for free for years, and I never even said thank you. Not really. Jennifer looked up, her eyes glassy. I took you for granted. Completely, and I'm sorry. I appreciate the apology. Is there any way? She started, then stopped. I'm not asking for free babysitting. I know that's done, but can Tyler at least visit sometimes? As actual family, not as a convenience? I considered this. Here are my conditions. You ask in advance, at least 2 days ahead. You respect my schedule if I say no. Tyler gets a genuine talk about respecting other people's property. And you cover my deductible for the car repairs. Jennifer nodded quickly. Done. All of it. I'd already have a check in my purse. She pulled out her wallet, extracting a folded check, $500 made out to me. I took it, examining the amount. Thank you. Can I bring Tyler by this weekend? Actually by for a visit, not dropping him off. We could have lunch together, all 3 of us. My treat. Saturday works, 1 o'clock. Jennifer stood, hesitating. I really am sorry about everything. You deserve better than how I treated you. Yes, I did. But we can move forward from here. After she left, I sat in the quiet of my home, thinking about boundaries and respect. My car would be repaired. My time would be valued. And my sister, perhaps for the first time, understood that kindness wasn't infinite, that even family relationships required mutual respect and consideration. Saturday came. Jennifer and Tyler arrived exactly at 1, carrying takeout from my favorite restaurant. Tyler handed me a drawing he'd made, a crayon picture of my car, carefully colored, with "Sorry" written across the top in uneven letters. I shouldn't have hurt your car, he said quietly, the words clearly rehearsed but sincere. Mom says I need to be more careful with other people's stuff. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate the apology and the drawing. We ate lunch in my backyard, the conversation careful but genuine. Jennifer asked about my work, actually listening to my responses. She told me about her job stresses without using them as excuses. Tyler played with his toys on the grass but kept them away from my car parked in the driveway. When they left, Jennifer hugged me. Same time next week. Same time next week, I confirmed. As I watched them drive away, I felt something shift, not back to how things were, but forward to something better. Something built on respect instead of assumption. My house rules had, in truth, covered more than just my driveway. They covered the foundation of how I allowed people to treat me. And that boundary, once set, would never be crossed again. The restaurant was too loud for the conversation we were having, but my sister Angela had insisted on meeting there. She sat across from me with her son Marcus, his Stanford acceptance letter displayed on the table like a trophy. So, graduation, Angela said, scrolling through her phone. We're thinking the country club for the party. Maybe 200 guests. Marcus barely looked up from his phone. He was 17, confident in the way kids get when they've been told they're exceptional their entire lives. Sounds expensive, I said mildly. It's worth it. He got into Stanford. Angela said it like he'd won the Nobel Prize. My parents arrived, sliding into the booth. My father clapped Marcus on the shoulder. There's our Stanford man. We need to finalize the guest list, Angela said. I'm thinking slideshow, photo booth. Marcus set down his phone. I don't want a huge thing, just family and my actual friends. It's going to be huge, Angela said firmly. Whatever. But I don't want certain people there making it weird. What do you mean? Angela asked. Marcus glanced at me, then looked away. Some people would just be embarrassing. He means me, I said quietly. The table went silent. Marcus had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable, but not enough to take it back. I didn't say that, he muttered. You didn't have to. Angela set down her pen. Diane, he's just. No, let him say it, I interrupted. Marcus, if you don't want me at your graduation party, just say so directly. He shifted in his seat, looking to his mother for rescue. When none came, he shrugged. Fine, I don't want you there. You're just going to make things awkward. People are going to ask about you, and I'll have to explain that my aunt is. He trailed off. Is what? I asked. Is kind of an idiot, he finished, the words coming out in a rush. I mean, no offense, but you never went to a good school. You work some boring job nobody understands. My friends' parents are all doctors and lawyers and tech people. What am I supposed to say about you? My mother gasped. Marcus, that's incredibly rude. He's not wrong though, Angela said, her voice careful. Diane, you know we love you, but Marcus's point is valid. This is his moment. He's going to Stanford. His friends come from accomplished families. She gestured vaguely at me. You're just different from us. I looked at my sister, the same woman who called me last month asking to borrow money for Marcus's graduation trip, who called 3 months before that asking if I could help with his SAT prep costs. I looked at Marcus, this boy I'd held in the hospital the day he was born, whose trust fund statement I'd reviewed just last week. I see, I said. So I'm not welcome. Don't be dramatic, Angela sighed. We're not saying you can't come to the actual graduation ceremony, just maybe skip the party. Keep things simple. Yeah, Marcus added, emboldened by his mother's support. Like the ceremony is whatever, but the party's for people I actually want there. I pulled out my phone and opened my email, scrolling to the message I'd received that morning from Wells Fargo Wealth Management. The subject line read, Marcus Thompson Education Trust, Annual Review. That's reasonable, I said smiling. You're right, Marcus. It's your day. You should be surrounded by people you respect. He looked relieved. Thanks for understanding. Of course. I stood gathering my purse. I need to get going. Work calls. Your boring job, Marcus said, not quite under his breath. I paused. Yes, my boring job. Enjoy your lunch. And congratulations again on Stanford. I left them arguing over DJs versus bands. I sat in my car, looking at my phone. The trust fund had been my father's idea when Marcus was born. Everyone agreed enthusiastically to contribute, then they all forgot, assuming someone else would handle it. I'd handled it. For 18 years, I deposited money, $500 a month initially, more as my career advanced. The account now held $372,000, enough for 4 years at Stanford, with a cushion for expenses. I was the trustee, the only person authorized to release funds. Angela didn't even know the details. She assumed the trust was some general family fund, accessible to Marcus at 18. She assumed wrong. Monday morning, my phone remained silent until 10. Then Angela called. What did you do? Her voice was sharp with panic. Good morning, Angela. I'm well, thanks for asking. Don't. I just got a call from Stanford's financial aid office. They said there's an issue with Marcus's funding. Something about a guarantor signature? They said his enrollment is conditional pending verification of payment capability. That sounds serious. Diane, what is happening? The woman said she's been trying to reach the trustee of Marcus's education fund. She said the trustee's contact information lists you. Why would it list you? I leaned back in my office chair, looking out at the city's skyline. Because I'm the trustee. What does that mean? It means I control the trust fund. I'm the only person authorized to release money from it. Silence. Then, that can't be right. That's a family fund. It's a fund I've contributed to for 18 years. $372,000. That's enough to cover Marcus's 4 years at Stanford. You've contributed. Angela's voice cracked. $300,000? How is that even possible? Consistent deposits over 18 years. Compound interest. Basic financial planning. But you can't, you work some administrative job. You don't have that kind of money. I'm the chief financial officer of a mid-sized tech company, Angela. I make $400,000 a year. I've made good money for a long time. Chief Financial? What? You told us you did accounting. I do. At the executive level. I have an MBA from Wharton and a CPA license. My boring job involves managing $100 million budget. Another long silence. Why didn't you tell us? I did. Repeatedly. You all stopped listening years ago. It was easier to think of me as the underachiever, the one who didn't quite measure up to the family's standards. It made you feel better about yourselves. We never. Angela, your son called me an idiot on Saturday. You agreed with him. You said I wasn't accomplished enough to be at his party. Did you think I'd just accept that? You didn't mean it? He's 17, Diane. Teenagers say stupid things. And Stanford needs a signature from the trust guarantor by Friday, or Marcus's acceptance will be rescinded. They'll offer his spot to someone on the wait list. You can't be serious. You're going to punish him for being rude? That's insane. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm making a decision about my own money. Money I earned, saved, and invested. Money that nobody in this family ever acknowledged or appreciated. We didn't know. How were we supposed to appreciate something we didn't know about? You knew enough. You knew I helped with SAT prep costs. You knew I paid for his summer programs. You knew I sent checks for his expenses. You just never bothered to think about where the money was coming from or why I might be doing it. Because you're family. Family helps each other. Yes, Angela. Family helps each other. Family also respects each other. Family doesn't call each other idiots or ban them from celebrations. I could hear her breathing, sharp and fast. What do you want? You want him to apologize? Fine. I'll make him apologize. I'll make him grovel if that's what it takes. I don't want forced apologies. I want Marcus to go to a school where he learns that intelligence comes in many forms, that respect isn't conditional on prestige, and that the people who quietly support you deserve more than casual cruelty. So you're saying no? You're actually going to let him lose Stanford? I'm saying I'm not signing anything this week. Stanford's deadline is Friday. Marcus can make his own choices about what happens next. There is no choice. We can't afford Stanford without that money. We don't have $70,000 a year. I'm a teacher, Diane. Marcus's father hasn't paid child support in 5 years. This is it. This is his shot. Then he should have thought of that before he decided I was too much of an embarrassment to attend his party. He's a kid. He's old enough to get into Stanford. He's old enough to face consequences for his words. You're his mother. You should have taught him better. Instead, you reinforced his cruelty. You agreed that I wasn't good enough for his celebration. You validated everything he said. Angela was crying now. Please, Diane, please don't do this. I'm sorry. We're both sorry. You can come to the party. You can bring whoever you want. You can give a speech. I don't care. Just don't take this away from him. It was never his to begin with. It was mine. My money, my decision, my trust fund that I built over 18 years while you all dismissed me as the family failure. You're not a failure. We never said. You said it on Saturday. You said it every time you introduced me as just an accountant while bragging about your teaching career. You said it every time you forgot to ask about my work, my life, my accomplishments. You said it in 1,000 small ways over 2 decades. What do you want from us? Nothing. That's the point. I don't want anything anymore. I'm done funding people who think I'm an idiot. I'm done being the family ATM while being treated like the family disappointment. But Marcus will figure it out. He can take out loans. He can attend a state school. He can defer for a year and reapply with proper financial planning. Those are all viable options. They're not Stanford. No, they're not. Neither is respecting the aunt who funded your education, but here we are. I hung up before she could respond. My phone rang continuously for the rest of the day. Angela, my mother, my father, even Marcus himself, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. I listened to none of them. Wednesday afternoon, Marcus appeared at my office. My assistant sent him in. He entered, and his eyes went wide, taking in the view, the mahogany desk, the wall of degrees and awards. He stood awkwardly, suddenly looking very young. Nice office, he said quietly. Thank you. Please sit. He sank into the chair. Mom said you're a CFO, and you went to Wharton. That's correct. I didn't know any of that. I know. I was a jerk on Saturday. Yes, you were. Mom says you're not going to sign the papers. She says I'm going to lose Stanford. That's a possibility. His jaw tightened. So this is, what, revenge? You're going to ruin my life because I hurt your feelings? Is that what you think is happening? Isn't it? I leaned back in my chair. Marcus, let me ask you something. Do you know what a chief financial officer does? He shrugged. Money stuff. I make decisions about where resources should be allocated to maximize value and minimize risk. I decide which investments are worth making and which ones aren't. It's my job to recognize when we're putting money into something that won't give us an adequate return. I'm not an investment. No, you're not. You're my nephew. But the principle applies. For 18 years, I invested in your future. Time, money, effort. I did it because I love you and because I wanted you to have opportunities. But on Saturday, you made it clear that you don't value that investment. You called me an idiot. You said I was an embarrassment. Your mother agreed. I didn't mean, yes, you did. You meant exactly what you said. You looked at me, someone who has quietly supported you your entire life, and decided I wasn't good enough to be seen with, that I wasn't accomplished enough, smart enough, or prestigious enough for your celebration. His face flushed. I was being stupid. You were being honest. That's what you really think of me, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm also entitled to make decisions about my money based on that opinion. So you're really not going to sign? I'm really not going to sign this week. Stanford's deadline is Friday. After that, your spot goes to someone else. What if I apologize? Really apologize, not just because mom is making me? Apologizing doesn't undo 18 years of being dismissed and undervalued by my own family. It doesn't change the fact that when you were asked to choose between respecting me and impressing your friends, you chose your friends. Tears welled in his eyes. I worked so hard to get into Stanford. I know, and I worked hard to fund it. We both had something at stake here. The difference is, you threw away my contribution without a second thought. Now you're facing the consequences. That's not fair. No, it isn't. None of this is fair, but it's reality. Actions have consequences. Words have weight. And sometimes the people you take for granted stop granting you things. He stood abruptly. Everyone was right. You are mean. I'm not mean, Marcus. I'm done. There's a difference. He left without another word, and I returned to my work. The trust fund documents sat in my drawer, unsigned. Friday came and went. Stanford called my office twice. I let both calls go to voicemail. By Monday, Marcus's spot had been offered to another student. The acceptance letter that had sat so proudly on the restaurant table was now just an expensive piece of paper with no power behind it. Angela stopped calling after the first week. My parents sent a few guilt-laden emails that I deleted without reading. Marcus posted on social media about his plans to attend UC Berkeley in the fall, making it sound like that had always been his first choice. I never did attend his graduation party. But I did send a card with a check for $500 and a note that said simply, "Congratulations on your graduation. May you learn the difference between intelligence and prestige, between accomplishment and acknowledgement. Love, your idiot aunt." The trust fund remains active, still in my name, still under my control. $372,000 sitting in an account, waiting for someone who might actually appreciate it. Maybe someday Marcus will. Maybe he'll call me in 10 years, having learned something about humility and respect. Maybe he won't. Either way, I'm no longer waiting for my family to see my worth. I'd already know it. And that knowledge is worth more than any Stanford acceptance letter ever could be. The boardroom was silent when I made my announcement. 15 executives stared at me, but my mother's face showed the most shock. "What do you mean, you're resigning?" she asked, her voice sharp. "You're the chief executive officer of Morrison Industries. You can't just walk away." "Emma needs me," I said, keeping my voice steady. "The doctors say she has 6 months, maybe less. I'm not spending that time in board meetings." My mother stood, her chair scraping against the floor. "The company needs you more than your dying daughter. She has nurses, doctors, her father. What she doesn't need is you throwing away everything we built." I gathered my papers. "I've already submitted my resignation to the board. My decision is final." "Then you're dead to us," my mother said. She turned to my brother, David, who sat 3 seats down. "Pack up her office. Get her out by the end of the day." I looked around the table. My father had started Morrison Industries 40 years ago, building it from a small manufacturing company into a regional powerhouse. When he died 3 years ago, I took over as CEO. Under my leadership, we doubled our revenue and expanded into 3 new states. None of that mattered now. I'll clear out my personal items, I said. David can handle the transition documents. My mother's expression hardened. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. That child is dying whether you're there or not. At least you could have preserved your father's legacy. I left the boardroom without another word. Emma was 8 years old when the neuroblastoma diagnosis came. Stage 4. Aggressive. The oncologist spoke in percentages and probabilities, but I heard only one thing. My daughter was running out of time. For 3 months, I tried to balance everything. Hospital visits during lunch breaks, board meetings via video call from the pediatric oncology floor, reviewing quarterly reports while Emma slept after chemotherapy. My mother called it having it all. I called it drowning. The day Emma asked why I was always on my phone during her treatments was the day I knew I had to choose. My brother moved into the CEO position within a week. My mother took over as board chair. Neither of them called to check on Emma or me. My younger sister, Patricia, sent a brief text. Mom says we're not supposed to contact you anymore. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I was too busy learning how to manage Emma's pain medications, coordinate with hospice, and make every remaining day count. We moved into a smaller apartment near the hospital. I sold my luxury car and bought a practical set-in. I cashed out my stock options and put the money into accessible accounts. The family stopped including me in company communications. My corporate email was deactivated. My mother had my name removed from the company website. It didn't matter. Emma and I spent her good days at the park. On bad days, I read to her for hours. She loved stories about girls who went on adventures, girls who were brave even when they were scared. Am I brave, Mom? She asked one afternoon, her voice weak. The bravest person I know, I told her. Emma died on a Tuesday morning in February, holding my hand. The hospice nurse said it was peaceful. I said it was the worst moment of my life. My family didn't attend the funeral. My mother sent flowers with a card that read, "Condolences on your loss. This doesn't change what you did to the company." After Emma died, I couldn't go back to the corporate world. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I discovered something during those months of caregiving. I was good at navigating the medical system. I understood insurance denials, treatment protocols, and clinical trials. Other families in the pediatric ward had asked for my help, and I gave it freely. 6 months after Emma's death, I started Peterson Medical Advocacy, just me, working from home, helping families with seriously ill children navigate the healthcare maze. I charged some clients and worked pro bono for others. The work was meaningful in a way the boardroom had never been. The business grew faster than I expected. I hired 2 assistants, then 4. We worked with hospitals across 3 states. I developed relationships with insurance companies, pharmaceutical reps, and patient assistance programs. Within a year, I had 12 employees and a waiting list of clients. I bought a house in a quiet neighborhood with the money I'd saved from my CEO stock options. Nothing extravagant, but it was mine. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, a mortgage I could afford. I put Emma's photos everywhere and created a small memorial garden with her favorite flowers. I didn't think about Morrison Industries much. Occasionally, I'd see news articles about the company, market share declining, contract disputes, executive turnover. I felt a distant sadness, but it wasn't my problem anymore. 2 years after Emma's funeral, someone knocked on my door on a Saturday morning. I opened it to find my mother standing on the porch. She'd aged dramatically. Her expensive suit hung loose on a thinner frame. Her hair, always perfectly styled, looked dull and unwashed. "Hello, Patricia," my mother said. "It's been 2 years," I said. "What do you want?" She held up an envelope. "I've been evicted. The bank foreclosed on my condo last month. I've been staying with David, but she paused. "He can't help anymore either." I didn't invite her inside. "Why are you here?" "I need a place to stay, just temporarily, until I get back on my feet." She glanced past me into the house. "You seem to have space. You told me I was dead to you." I was angry. "You abandoned the company when we needed you most." I was with my dying daughter. My mother's jaw tightened. "The company your father built is gone, Patricia. Bankrupt. David ran it into the ground. He made reckless expansion decisions and took on too much debt. Everything is gone." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I meant it. My father had loved that company. "I have nowhere else to go," my mother said, her voice cracking slightly. "Your sister can barely support herself. David is being investigated for fraud. I'm asking for help. Before I could respond, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Excuse me, I need to take this. I stepped back but left the door open. My mother could hear the conversation. Hi, Jennifer, I said. Yes, the Henderson case settled. The insurance company agreed to cover the full experimental treatment, $300,000. I paused, listening. Tell Mrs. Henderson that Dr. Yamamoto's office has the approval. They can start next week. I hung up and looked at my mother. Her expression had shifted to confusion. You work in insurance? She asked. I run a medical advocacy firm. We help families navigate healthcare coverage for catastrophic illnesses. How many employees? 15 now. We're expanding into 2 more states next quarter. My mother stared at me. You run a company? A small one, yes. But you quit Morrison. You gave up your career. I gave up one career. I built another. A car pulled into my driveway. A woman in professional attire stepped out, carrying a clipboard. Ms. Peterson, I'm Amanda Torres from Riverside Realty. I have the paperwork for the investment property you inquired about, she smiled. The 4-unit apartment building on Oak Street. The owner accepted your offer. That's wonderful, I said. I'll review the documents this afternoon. Amanda nodded and handed me the folder. Congratulations on your second rental property. You're building quite a portfolio. After Amanda left, I turned back to my mother. Her face had gone pale. You own rental properties, she whispered. 2 apartment buildings, 4 units each. It's a good investment strategy, and I can manage them alongside the advocacy work. My phone buzzed with a text from my accountant. Q4 revenue looks strong. Your business cleared $780,000 this year. Well done. My mother read the notification on my screen before I could close it. You made nearly $800,000. It was a good year, I said simply. While Morrison was collapsing, you were building all this? While Emma was dying, I was holding her hand. After she died, I chose to build something meaningful. The business success was a byproduct. My mother sat down heavily on my porch step. I thought you destroyed your life. I thought you'd be struggling, barely getting by. You thought I'd come crawling back. She didn't deny it. I sat beside her, keeping a small distance. Why did the company fail? David didn't understand operations like you did. He was good at sales and relationships, but he couldn't manage the infrastructure. He expanded too fast, borrowed too much, made promises we couldn't keep. She rubbed her temples. I watched it fall apart and couldn't stop it. I kept thinking if you'd just stayed, if you'd put the company first. My daughter was dying. I know that. Her voice was small. I knew it then too. We sat in silence for several minutes. A neighbor waved as they walked their dog. The morning sun warmed the porch. Emma asked about you, I said finally, near the end. She wanted to know why Grandma didn't visit. My mother's hands trembled. What did you tell her? That you were busy, that you loved her but showed it differently. I looked at my mother directly. I lied to my dying daughter to protect your reputation. Patricia, She died holding my hand, asking me to tell you she was sorry she took me away from work. My mother's face crumpled. No, an 8-year-old child apologized for dying because she heard your voice on that speakerphone in the boardroom telling me the company needed me more. Tears streamed down my mother's face. I didn't mean for her to hear that. I didn't mean. What you meant doesn't matter. What you said does. What you chose does. My phone rang again, my business partner this time. I answered. Patricia, the hospital administrator at County General wants to contract with us for their entire pediatric oncology patient advocacy program. It's a 2-year contract worth $500,000. I could hear the excitement in Tom's voice. This is huge for us. Schedule a meeting for Monday, I said. We'll review the terms. I hung up and stood. My mother remained on the porch step, looking up at me. You're succeeding, she said quietly, beyond what I ever imagined. Success isn't measured in revenue anymore, at least not for me. Then what is it measured in? I thought of Emma's last days, the way she'd smiled when I read her favorite stories, the peace on her face when she died, the families I'd helped since then, and the children who received treatment because we fought for their insurance coverage. Impact, I said. The difference you make when you choose correctly. My mother wiped her eyes. I chose incorrectly. Yes, you did. Can you forgive me? I considered the question honestly. I don't know. Maybe someday, but not today. Will you help me with the housing situation? I looked at the woman who'd chosen a company over her granddaughter. Woe disown me for choosing love over profit. I thought about Emma, who taught me more about courage in 8 years than I'd learned in my entire corporate career. I own a studio apartment in one of my buildings, I said. It's small, 400 square feet. The previous tenant moved out last month. Hope flickered across my mother's face. The rent is $800 a month, utilities not included. You'll need to pass a background check and provide first and last month's rent, plus a security deposit. Same terms I offer anyone. You're going to charge me rent? Would you prefer I treat you differently than any other tenant? She was quiet for a moment. No, that's fair. There's one more condition, I said. Once a month, you'll volunteer at my office. You'll work with families who have children with catastrophic illnesses. You'll help them fill out paperwork, make phone calls, coordinate with medical offices. You'll see what these families face every day. I don't know anything about medical advocacy. Neither did I before Emma got sick. You'll learn. I met her eyes, and maybe you'll understand why I made the choice I did. My mother nodded slowly. When can I see the apartment? I'll have my property manager call you Monday with the application. If everything checks out, you can move in by the end of the month. Thank you, Patricia. I didn't respond to that. Instead, I said, I need to go. I'm meeting with a client family this afternoon. Their daughter has leukemia, and the insurance company denied the bone marrow transplant. Can you help them? I don't know yet, but I'll try. That's what I do now. My mother stood, straightening her suit jacket with trembling hands. She looked at my house, the mortgage I'd earned, the life I built from the ashes of the one she tried to destroy. Your father would be proud of you, she said quietly. I hope so, I said. But it doesn't matter anymore. Emma was proud of me. That's enough. I watched my mother walk to her car. An old sedan that had clearly seen better days. She drove away slowly, and I returned inside to my house filled with Emma's photos and the work that gave my loss meaning. My phone buzzed with another text, a former client sending a photo of her daughter's first day back at school after completing treatment. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for fighting for us. I saved the photo to my collection, hundreds of them now. Children who survived because someone advocated for them, because someone understood the system, because someone cared enough to fight. The company I'd left behind was gone, but the legacy I was building, the one Emma had inspired, would last far longer than any quarterly report. That evening, I sat in Emma's memorial garden, watching the sunset behind the house I owned and the life I'd chosen. I did the right thing, baby girl, I whispered. I hope you know that. The wind rustled through the flowers, and for a moment, I could almost hear her voice. The bravest person I know, Mom. I was learning to believe her. Maya had been planning her graduation outfit for 3 months. Valedictorian of her college class, full scholarship to law school starting in September, 4 years of perfect grades culminating in this moment. She wanted everything to be perfect. Uncle Derek is bringing his professional camera, right? Maya asked me for the 3rd time that week. He promised. He'll get photos of you receiving your diploma, your speech, everything. My brother Derek was a hobby photographer with expensive equipment. He'd offered to document the graduation months ago. His photos would be beautiful, something Maya could keep forever. 2 days before graduation, my phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Can't make Saturday. Tommy's pitching in his first game, you understand. I called him immediately. Derek, this is Maya's college graduation. You promised to take photos. Tommy's 10. This is a big deal for him. First time pitching in a real game. It's Little League. Maya is giving the valedictorian speech. She's worked for this for 4 years. And she'll have plenty of other achievements. Tommy's childhood is happening now. I can't miss it. It's not even playoffs. It's a regular season game. It's important to my son. You're being selfish, honestly. Maya will understand. He hung up. I called my father next, hoping for support, maybe for him to talk sense into Derek. Dad, Derek just canceled on Maya's graduation for Tommy's baseball game. Well, Tommy's game is important. Derek has to be there for his son. And Maya? Your granddaughter? The one graduating with honors? Maya's an adult. She doesn't need her uncle at her graduation. Tommy needs his father at his game. So Maya just doesn't matter as much? Don't be dramatic, Jennifer. Derek has responsibilities to his own child. You need to understand that. I understand perfectly. I hired a professional photographer. It cost me $800 I budgeted for Maya's law school textbooks. I rearranged the family dinner reservation to a smaller table. I called my mother's sister, Aunt Patricia, who came through with enthusiasm Derek and my father had never shown. Graduation day arrived, sunny and warm. Maya looked beautiful in her cap and gown, honor cords draped across her shoulders in gold and purple, the colors representing her academic achievements. Summa cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa, presidential scholar. 4 years of dedication visible in those cords. I sat in the family section with Aunt Patricia and my mother's side of the family. My cousin brought flowers. My mother's best friend, who'd known Maya since birth, came with a card and a gift. The seats I'd reserved for Derek and my father, front row center with perfect sight lines, stayed empty throughout the ceremony. 2 empty chairs, like missing teeth in an otherwise complete smile. Maya gave her valedictorian speech about perseverance and family support, about the people who believe in you when challenges seem insurmountable. Her voice was strong and clear, carrying across the outdoor amphitheater. I watched her eyes scan the crowd during the part about family. Watched her locate the empty chairs. Watched her pause for just a fraction of a second before continuing. Watched her realize they really weren't coming, that Tommy's baseball game had won. Watched her voice steady itself, her shoulders straighten, and her speech continue anyway, with even more conviction. After the ceremony, she asked the question I'd been dreading. Why didn't Uncle Derek and Grandpa come? Tommy had a baseball game. A baseball game was more important than my graduation? I had no good answer for that. What I didn't tell Maya was what I'd been planning for 3 months. The same 3 months she'd been planning her graduation outfit, I'd been planning something else entirely. I'd been planning to take control of Morrison Manufacturing. My grandfather founded the company in 1968, building industrial parts for automotive suppliers. By the time he died in 2016, it was generating $52 million in annual revenue with 240 employees. Everyone in the family assumed Derek would inherit the business. He worked there as vice president of operations. My father, who'd run the company for 30 years before semi-retiring, still came in as senior advisor. Between them, they pulled in $330,000 annually in salary. I worked there too, executive vice president, officially. But Derek and my father treated my role as ceremonial. Jenny handles the paperwork, they tell clients. We handle the real business. What they didn't know was that my grandfather had left me something more important than a title. He'd left me 51% of the company. The shares had transferred through a private trust when he died, not part of the public will, just a quiet legal document giving me controlling interest. My father got 25%. Derek got 15%. The remaining 9% was split among a few early investors. My grandfather had called me to his hospital bed 2 weeks before he died. "You're the smart one," he'd said. "Derek thinks business is about swagger. Your father thinks it's about legacy. You understand it's about making good decisions every single day. I'm giving you control, Jenny, but keep it quiet until you need it. Let them think they're running things. When the time comes, you'll know what to do." I kept his secret for 8 years. Watched Derek make poor decisions. Watched my father interfere with strategic plans. Watched the company succeed in spite of them because I was actually making the important decisions through board proxies and quiet influence. The board knew. 7 directors and 4 of them understood who really held power. We kept the company profitable, innovative, and growing. Derek thought his department was succeeding because of his management. My father thought the company was thriving because of his decades of wisdom. Neither of them realized I'd been steering the ship the entire time. Maya's graduation was the breaking point. I'd spent 8 years watching Derek's son get prioritized over my daughter. Tommy's soccer games, Tommy's school plays, Tommy's birthday parties, always more important than Maya's achievements. My father enabled it, reinforced it, made it clear whose grandchild really mattered. The Monday after graduation, I called an emergency board meeting. I'm presenting a restructuring proposal, I told the 7 directors gathered in the conference room. We're eliminating 2 executive positions that are redundant and underperforming. I laid out 8 years of documentation, projected on the screen for everyone to see, charts and graphs that told a damning story. Derek's department was 23% behind schedule on deliveries, 15% over budget consistently. Client complaints had increased 40% over 2 years. His decisions had cost the company $840,000 in penalties and lost contracts over the past 2 years alone. My father's advisory role had delayed 12 major decisions in the past 18 months, created confusion in the leadership structure with contradictory directives, and cost approximately $200,000 annually in lost productivity. Meetings that should have taken 1 hour stretched to 3 because he needed to tell stories about how we did it in the old days. Combined, these positions represent $1 million annual drag on company performance. I'm recommending immediate termination with standard severance. The documentation supports this decision from both a performance and financial perspective. The vote was unanimous. My 51% made it a formality, but even the independent directors agreed. One actually said, "This should have happened 2 years ago." Tuesday morning, I had HR call Derek and my father to a meeting in the main conference room. Derek arrived first, cocky and casual. "What's this about? I've got a department meeting at 10. My father came in behind him. "Jennifer, this better be important. I'm supposed to golf with the Hendersons." The HR director, Michelle, sat beside me with 2 folders. "We're restructuring your positions," I said calmly. "Effective immediately, your employment with Morrison Manufacturing is terminated." The room went silent. Derek laughed. "What? Jenny, you can't fire me. I'm VP of Operations. I'm majority shareholder and CEO. I can restructure any position." "Dad, tell her." Derek looked at my father desperately. My father's face had gone red. "This is absurd. Jennifer, I built this company." "Grandpa built it. You ran it for 30 years. Then Grandpa left controlling interest to me when he died in 2016. I slid copies of the trust documents across the table, share certificates showing my 51% ownership, board meeting minutes from 8 years of meetings showing my authority." Derek stared at the papers. "This can't be real. Dad said I'd inherit the business." "Dad doesn't own the business. He has 25%. You have 15. I have 51. I've been majority shareholder for 8 years." My father's voice shook. "Your grandfather did this without telling me?" "He told me. He made me promise to keep it quiet until I needed to use it. I'm using it now." "This is about the graduation," Derek said, understanding dawning. "You're punishing us for missing Maya's graduation." "I'm terminating 2 positions that have been underperforming for years. Your department is consistently behind schedule and over budget. Dad's interference slows down every major decision. The documentation is in your severance folders." Michelle opened the folders. 2 weeks severance pay. Healthcare coverage through the end of the month. Security will escort you out after you collect personal items from your offices. "You can't do this," my father said. "The family will never accept this. The family doesn't vote on company decisions. The board does. And the board voted unanimously yesterday." Derek stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "This is because of Tommy's baseball game, because I chose my son over your daughter." "No, Derek. This is because you chose your son over your job performance for 8 years. Just like you chose him over Maya's graduation. The pattern finally caught up to you. We'll sue. We'll get lawyers. You're employed at will in an at-will state. I have documentation of performance issues. My attorney is very confident. I kept my voice level. You're welcome to try." Security arrived. 2 professional guards who escorted Derek and my father to their offices, supervised their packing, and walked them out to the parking lot. I watched from my office window as they left. Derek was on his phone, probably calling his wife. My father walked slowly, looking older than I'd ever seen him. The call started within an hour. My father's sister. "How could you fire your own father?" "He was underperforming. It's business." Derek's wife. "You've destroyed our family over a petty grudge. I've restructured a company that my grandfather left to me." My mother's sister, Patricia. "About damn time someone put those 2 in their place." The family split predictably. My father's side thought I was cruel and vindictive. My mother's side thought I'd finally stood up for myself. Neither side changed the reality that I owned the company, and they didn't. Derek found a job 3 months later at a competing manufacturer. His salary was $95,000, almost half of what he'd been making. My father tried consulting for a few months before admitting he was actually retired now. Morrison Manufacturing's performance improved immediately. Without Derek's interference, deliveries came in on schedule. Without my father's delays, decisions got made efficiently. Revenue increased 18% over the next 6 months. Maya learned what happened from her Aunt Patricia, who couldn't keep the secret. Mom, you fired Uncle Derek and Grandpa? Because of my graduation? Not entirely because of your graduation, but that was the moment I realized I was done letting them dismiss your achievements. Done pretending their priorities mattered more than yours. That seems extreme. Maybe. But they've spent your entire life showing you that Tommy matters more. That their side of the family matters more. I spent 8 years with the power to change that and did nothing. Your graduation reminded me I was enabling them by staying quiet. Do you regret it? No. The company's doing better. I promoted 2 excellent people into those positions. And you know what? I don't have to sit through another holiday dinner watching them celebrate Tommy's mediocre report card while barely mentioning your perfect GPA. Maya's law school graduation came 3 years later. She graduated in the top 10% of her class and already had a job offer at a prestigious firm. Derek and my father learned about it from Facebook. I didn't invite them. They sent cards congratulating her and asking if we could move past this. I didn't respond. At the graduation, Maya gave another speech, this one about the importance of recognizing your own worth and surrounding yourself with people who value your achievements. She looked right at me during the part about family support. After the ceremony, she hugged me tight. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always being here. I'll always be here. That's what mothers do. Uncle Derek used to be here too. Used to be. Past tense. People make choices. They chose Tommy's baseball game. I chose you. I don't regret my choice. I don't regret yours either. We had dinner with Aunt Patricia and my mother's side of the family. We celebrated Maya's achievement properly, with people who genuinely cared. My phone buzzed during dessert, a text from Derek. Saw the photos on Facebook. Congratulations to Maya. I should have been there for her first graduation. I'm sorry. 3 years too late. A company too late. A relationship too late. I deleted the message and turned back to my daughter, who was laughing at one of her cousin's jokes, surrounded by family who'd actually shown up. Tommy's baseball game had been important. Important enough to cost Derek a $180,000 salary and the family business he thought he'd inherit. Maya's graduation had been important too. Important enough for me to finally use the power my grandfather had given me 8 years earlier. Some people learn the value of priorities when they're taught gently. Others learn when they're unemployed. My brother learned the hard way, and my father learned that the daughter he dismissed had been running his company all along. The company continued to thrive. Maya passed the bar exam. Life moved forward. And somewhere in a drawer in my office, I kept the program from Maya's college graduation, the one where she gave her valedictorian speech to a family section missing 2 people who should have been there. I kept it as a reminder of the day I stopped being quiet about being underestimated. The day Tommy's baseball game became the most expensive Little League game anyone in our family ever played. The chapel was silent except for the soft sound of crying. I stood at the front, looking at the photographs of my son displayed around his closed casket. Daniel at his high school graduation, Daniel volunteering at the children's hospital, Daniel laughing with his college friends. He had been 23 years old when the drunk driver crossed the median on Route 7. 3 weeks had passed and I still couldn't process that he was gone. The casket remained closed because of the severity of the accident, and I was grateful for that small mercy. Pastor Williams had just begun the eulogy, speaking about Daniel's passion for helping others, when my sister Victoria stood up from the 3rd row. She was wearing a bright coral dress that stood out against the sea of black and gray. Everyone needs some happy news today, she announced, her voice cutting through his words. I think Daniel would want us to celebrate life, not just mourn death. I watched, frozen, as she walked to the center aisle and pulled out a stack of pink and blue envelopes from her designer handbag. Mark and I are having twins, Victoria continued, her smile bright against the somber atmosphere. And we're doing a gender reveal party next month. I'm handing out invitations now since everyone's already here. The chapel erupted in whispers. I saw my mother's face go pale. Daniel's friends from college stared in disbelief. Victoria moved down the aisles, pressing invitations into people's hands like a bride distributing wedding favors. Victoria, my husband James whispered urgently. Not now. Why not? She asked, genuinely confused. Daniel was always the life of the party. He'd want something to look forward to. She placed an invitation on top of Daniel's casket. See, I'm inviting him too, in spirit. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed completely. I felt James' hand grip mine as Victoria returned to her seat, looking pleased with herself. Pastor Williams, visibly shaken, attempted to resume the eulogy, but the damage was done. People were staring at the colorful invitations at Victoria, at me. My mother approached me after the service. "Honey, I'm so sorry." I don't know what she was thinking. She wasn't, I managed. She never does. Victoria appeared at my elbow. People seemed really touched by the invitations. Several people told me it was exactly what they needed today. She squeezed my arm. "You'll come, right? It's at that new event space downtown. Very upscale." I pulled away and walked to my car. The following weeks blurred together. I took a leave from my teaching position. James handled the legal matters from the accident. I spent my days at the foundation office, the one place that felt purposeful. The Riverside Medical Research Foundation occupied the entire 10th floor of a downtown building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. I'd started it 8 years ago with a small inheritance from my grandmother, specifically focusing on rare pediatric conditions and trauma recovery research. What began as a modest operation with 2 employees had grown into an organization with a staff of 15 and an annual budget of $12 million. After Daniel's accident, I'd thrown myself into the work with renewed intensity. It gave me something to focus on besides the empty chair at our dinner table and the silence in our house. "Dr. Peterson, the grant applications for next quarter are ready for review," my assistant Sophie said, setting a stack of folders on my desk. I nodded, opening the first file. A family in Oregon needed funding for their daughter's treatment. A research team in Boston was developing new trauma response protocols. A children's hospital in Phoenix wanted to expand their genetic testing capabilities. Victoria's gender reveal party came and went. I didn't attend. According to my mother, it was elaborate, expensive, and well-attended. Twin girls. Victoria was thrilled. "She asked about you," my mother said on the phone. "She seemed hurt that you didn't come." "I was working," I said simply. "At that volunteer thing you do." I didn't correct her. My family had never understood my involvement with the foundation. They knew I did charity work, but they'd never asked for details. Victoria had once called it my hobby when I missed her birthday party for a crucial board meeting. 3 months after Daniel's funeral, Sophie buzzed my intercom. "Dr. Peterson, there's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. A Victoria Brennan?" My hand paused over the grant application I was signing. "Send her in." Victoria entered my office, looking nothing like the confident woman who distributed invitations at a funeral. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her designer clothes rumpled and mismatched. She was 5 months pregnant now, her belly prominent beneath a loose sweater. Her hands trembled as she clutched her phone. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, her voice shaking. "I know you're busy. Your assistant said you don't usually take walk-ins, but I begged." I literally begged her. I gestured to the chair across from my desk and waited. "The twins," she began, twisting her hands together. "At the 20-week ultrasound, they found something. Both babies have a genetic condition called Hartwell syndrome. Have you heard of it?" I had. It was one of the conditions our foundation researched. Unfamiliar. The doctors say there's a treatment, an experimental therapy that has to start immediately after birth, but it's not covered by insurance. It costs $300,000 per child. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Mark's business is struggling. We've already spent so much on fertility treatments and the pregnancy. We can't afford it." She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "I've been researching funding options. There are only 2 foundations in the country that provide grants for Hartwell syndrome treatment. One of them is here, in our city. The Riverside Medical Research Foundation." I watched her scroll through the website on her phone. "I've been trying to get an appointment for weeks," Victoria continued. "But they kept telling me the director was reviewing applications and couldn't be disturbed. Then today, I just came here and begged them to let me speak to whoever was in charge." She looked up at me. "Please, I know you volunteer here or something. Can you help me get a meeting with the director? My daughter's lives depend on it." I pressed the button on my intercom. "Sophie, could you bring in the Brennan grant application?" Victoria's eyes widened. "You already have my application." "We have 572 applications this quarter," I said. "Yours arrived last week." Sophie entered with a folder, setting it on my desk. On the tab was written, "Brennan, Victoria and Mark, Hartwell syndrome twins, $600,000 requested." "I don't understand," Victoria said. "How did you know I'd be here?" I didn't. I opened the folder. "Your application went through normal channels. medical documentation from Dr. Sarah Winters at County General, financial disclosure forms, letters of recommendation from your obstetrician. Then you can help me? Hope flooded her face. You can tell the director that I'm here? I picked up a pen and signed the bottom of the review form. The director is aware. But I need to speak to them directly. I need to explain how important this is. Victoria. I turned the nameplate on my desk to face her. It read, Dr. Margaret Peterson, Executive Director, Riverside Medical Research Foundation. She stared at it, then at me, then back at the nameplate. You're the volunteer? I founded this organization 8 years ago. We've provided over $40 million in medical research funding and treatment grants, I said, tapping the folder. We fund approximately 60% of all Hartwell syndrome treatments in North America. Her mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Your application is complete, I continued. Your daughters meet our criteria. Dr. Winters is one of the top specialists in the country. You've secured treatment slots at Children's Medical Center, which is one of our partner hospitals. You've been in charge this whole time, she whispered. My phone buzzed. Excuse me, I answered it. Yes, Dr. Martinez. The conference call about the Stanford Research Partnership. Put it through at 2. I hung up and looked at Victoria. Where were we? I didn't know, she said. The family never talks about what you do. Mom said you volunteered at some medical charity. The foundation takes up approximately 60 hours of my week, I said. After Daniel died, I increased my involvement. It helps to do work that matters. Victoria's face crumpled. The funeral. Oh God, the funeral. Yes. I didn't think. I just wanted to share good news. I thought people needed something positive. You interrupted my son's eulogy, I said, my voice even, to hand out party invitations. I'm so sorry, she was sobbing now. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I never understand. Mark tells me I don't think about how things affect other people. My therapist says the same thing, but I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear I didn't mean it. I pulled a tissue box from my drawer and slid it across the desk. Please, Victoria begged. I know I don't deserve your help. I know what I did was unforgivable. But my daughters didn't do anything wrong. Please don't punish them for my mistakes. Is that what you think I do? I asked. Punish sick children? No, I just mean. This foundation exists because children shouldn't suffer for their parents' failures, I said. When I was 12, my best friend died because her family couldn't afford an experimental treatment. I watched her parents beg, fundraise, mortgage their house. It wasn't enough. She died 3 weeks before the money came through. I opened Victoria's file. Your daughters will receive full funding for their treatment, $600,000, covering both girls through their first year of life. Dr. Winters is excellent. Your babies will have the best possible care. Victoria stared at me. You're approving it? Even after what I did? I'm approving it because 2 infants need medical treatment. I pulled out the grant agreement. However, there are conditions. All recipients of foundation grants are required to complete 20 hours of community service annually until the children turn 18. You'll work here at the foundation, helping other families navigate the application process. Yes, Victoria said immediately. Anything. You'll attend our monthly family support groups. You'll share your story with other parents of children with Hartwell syndrome. You'll be honest about your experience, including the challenges. I will, I promise. And Victoria? I met her eyes. You'll write a letter to the foundation board explaining why we do this work. Include what you've learned about how devastating medical crises affect families. That letter will be read at our annual fundraising gala. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Sophie will send you the grant paperwork. Review it with Mark, sign it, and return it within 48 hours. Dr. Winters will coordinate your treatment plan. I stood up. Your daughters will be fine, Victoria. We have an 87% success rate with this treatment protocol. She stood, stumbling slightly. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know how to. Take care of your daughters, I said. That's how you thank me. After she left, I walked to the window overlooking the city. Daniel's photograph sat on the credenza taken at his college graduation. He wanted to be a pediatric surgeon. We talked about him joining the foundation, using his skills to help the families we served. Sophie knocked softly. Dr. Peterson? The board meeting is in 10 minutes. I'll be right there. I picked up Daniel's photo. I'm doing the work, sweetheart, I whispered, just like we planned. That evening, James found me in Daniel's old room. How did it go today? Victoria came to the office. His eyebrows rose. How is she? Scared. Her twins have Hartwell syndrome. And we're funding their treatment. Full grant. James sat beside me on Daniel's bed. That must have been difficult. It was necessary. I leaned against him. Those babies didn't interrupt Daniel's funeral. They didn't do anything wrong. They just need help. You're a better person than I am, James said quietly. No. I just understand that the foundation isn't about me. It's about the kids who need it. 2 weeks later, Sophie brought me a letter. Victoria had written to the board about her experience, detailing the terror of her diagnosis, the desperate search for funding, and the moment she realized her sister ran the foundation that would save her daughters. But the final paragraph made me pause. My sister Margaret lost her only child 3 months ago. While I was planning parties and celebrations, she was saving children's lives. While I was handing out invitations at his funeral, she was reviewing applications from desperate families like mine. I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand the grace she showed me when she approved funding for my daughters despite my cruelty. The Riverside Foundation exists because people like Margaret choose love over vengeance, healing over hurt. I am forever grateful. The board gave Victoria's letter a standing ovation at the gala. It raised an additional $200,000 that night. Victoria kept her promise. She attended every support group, completed her service hours, and helped dozens of families navigate the grant process. When her daughters were born, healthy and immediately beginning treatment, she brought them to the foundation office. I want them to understand where their health came from, she told me, placing the tiny infants in my arms. I want them to know their Aunt Margaret saved their lives. I looked down at my nieces, thinking of Daniel, thinking of all the children we'd helped, all the families we'd supported. Welcome to the world, little ones, I whispered. You're going to do great things. Victoria watched me with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry about Daniel. I should have said that at the funeral. I should have said it every day since. I know you are. Will you tell me about him sometimes? I barely knew him as an adult. I was always too busy with my own life. I smiled, still looking at the babies. He was brilliant, compassionate. He wanted to help people who couldn't help themselves. Like his mother, Victoria said softly. The twins were stronger each day. The treatment worked beautifully, and every month, when Victoria came to the foundation for her service hours, I saw my son's legacy continuing in the work we did together. Some wounds never fully heal, but sometimes in the space where pain lives, purpose grows. That's what Daniel would have wanted.